Hello, everyone. How's it going? John, Colt. So, we are finishing up Sherlock Bones' adventure through Limgrave with an exploration of the Shifra River. What's up, Jose? And this will be very interesting to go through post DLC, I think. So I have a lot of questions. Probably one of the hardest things to figure out with the new revelations from the DLC is how the Eternal Cities fit in to everything. Because before we had this information about the shamans, it was pretty well understood that America had some tie to the Eternal Cities. We had the Black Knives were Newman women. They were scions of the Eternal City. America was said to have close ties with them. We had all these internal dev notes that referred to things like the Silver Tears were called America lineage. We had in 1.0 the Nox armor was said to be armor worn by members of the Empyrean family. A lot of different things that connected the civilization. Oh, and there's Lower Landell is made in the architectural style of like Celia and Ordina, which is clearly connected to the Eternal Cities. Gowry says that the Celians were descendants of the Eternal. So there were all these connections, and now that's all been kind of confused by America's past with the shamans. So unclear how that fits in. And that, I think, is mainly... And also, just more generally speaking, like the timeline of various civilizations, we know that... obviously the ancient dynasty is very old. We have the more modern-looking Nox Eternal Cities. And then we have, trying to figure out where that fits in the timeline regarding, let's say, the Beastman civilization, the Rao civilization, the Hornsent, where all of this fits in. Welcome, JJ Dundas. So we're going to be doing a lot of sort of looking at the environment and trying to figure this out. Hello, Galamoth. So here we have two lions with a... that could be a tree, but it could also be some kind of pyre. To me, that looks a little bit more like flames. Welcome, Pietro. Let's see. We have a big circle, 4 circles in the middle with leaves inside. On the back of a bull, perhaps. Doesn't have any horns. America learned about her Newman/Nox lineage and SO'd Black Knives to kill Godwin. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways that we could make it work. I'm gonna spit up straight up nonsense while I'm here. I appreciate it. I mean, just the cursory readings of everything hasn't got us to a full understanding yet. So we need schizo readings. We need anything possible. Welcome, Chris. You know, a little bit of this reminds me of the Divine Towers. I'll have to check that. And actually, we did not look at the Divine Tower connected to Stormvale, so that might be worth doing. But I think I want to focus on Shifra, so we'll do that first. So here we have a bunch of people surrounding this object. Could be a tree. No, but for real, since now we know that she doesn't hail directly from eternal cities, the only possibility is that they are descendants from the same culture. Well, to be clear, I think there's lots of things that we can be skeptical of. I mean, the shaman village is Marika's home, but that doesn't necessarily mean she was born there. Now, I think the Japanese word for it is more like hometown, indicating a place of birth, but that's not explicit. Could it be the 3 intertwined trees we see in Enir Elim? Possible. Hard to say whether that really is like a plant. I think that would make sense, but they all seem to have these staffs that appear sort of plant-like. They've got branches or leaves on the top. Not too dissimilar from the rolled statues. They also wield things like that. Okay, we've got candles. And these are all the same. Yeah, and it's actually said that she first set foot in the Land of Shadow, so she might not be from there. Yeah, and that was just on the Bandai website, so we can also be skeptical of that. We don't know whether that is reliable or not. We do know that, you know, the Lands of the Newman is not in the Lands Between. And Marika has a hammer from the Lands of the Newman. So, there are just too many previous ancient civilizations. True. First set foot as a god. Yep, that's one interpretation to make sense of it. Didn't Mia say it too? He might have, yeah. So this is another variation. These do seem more... There's lots of trees depicted there, so there is a lot of tree imagery. Not sure exactly what's going on there. Is that a child, maybe? Kind of hard to say. No, the thing about her setting foot is definitely not in-game. But, I mean, it may be reliable, it may be... There's different ways to interpret it. That's definitely a tree at the center. So... A lot of tree imagery, that's important. And... on the pots, you know, just normal floral designs, nothing too interesting. There's an 8-leafed flower on the top, although the little one has more than 8. It's canon enough. Well, even if it is canon, there's different ways to interpret it, right? So... Okay, melted mushroom, and this calls up associations with the putrescence, I think. just visually, although this clearly seems to be something to do with silver. It drips with a viscous fluid that behaves much like oil, which is interesting. Oil burns. I guess we didn't really look at all of these things. Oh yeah, I noticed this is just one more little bit of evidence that Godfrey is, or Horalu rather, is a Highlander, because this is actually the Highland axe. And that is the brave, or whatever, the Highland warrior helmet from the DLC. So that's much clearer. We did look at all of these, I think. Yeah. Okay. It's fair game for interpretation. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Ducust herba. A herb that grows in the false night in and around the eternal city. Soaked in arcane dew, it gives off the faint glow of starlight. So, starlight may be associated with silver, sunlight associated with gold. That also brings to mind the silver firefly. Gives off a silvery light found near bodies of cold water untouched by sunlight. And we don't have the gold firefly, but... So some kind of dichotomy there between sunlight versus night versus starlight. The bubble sorcerer has Noxian sigil. Maybe the Clayman and Noxian could be related. Yes. Yeah, we'll look at some of these. We'll look at some of these guys coming up here. So pretty basic construction. There is a lot of detail at the tops of the pillars, I think meant to connote something like Greek architecture. Maybe even previous to that. So that would kind of give the indication that this is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, civilization. I do like Cosmos had an interpretation of the Eternal Cities, which is, you know, there's a real life city called the Eternal City, which is Rome. And one of the qualities of Rome is that you have these relics from various ages that are all kind of existing next to each other. And so he theorized that basically the ancient dynasty and the Noxian eternal cities are actually all the eternal city. It's just one civilization that grew. His theory was that the ancient dynasty was sort of sent underground, and then after they were underground, they started building the Nox architecture, which makes a lot of sense. It explains why all the ancient dynasty ruins are broken, but the Noxian architecture is not broken. So if there was some great cataclysmic event that knocked them underground, it would have been before the Nox. So these are all the same. So now we have our claymen here. Let's take a look at them. So covered with bubbles. This could be a beard. Could just be sort of mud sinking down, but I think maybe meant to connote a beard. 3 toes, that's interesting. but they do have 5 fingers. And we have this harpoon. Hopefully we get one to drop. The description says that this is meteoric ore. And the harpoon is interesting. That would give the impression of, you know, hunting on the sea. Obviously there's no, now that we're underground, there's no sea to speak of, but well, maybe it's some kind of extra-dimensional sea, or maybe the civilization began on the waves, could connect with the giant stone coffin boats and the putrescence that we find there. The toes look very similar to those of the living jars. Interesting, yeah, because the living jars have sort of limbs that are made of, I don't know, rock and mud and stuff, right? So it makes sense, but we still have the issues about their metal windows. Why have metal windows in underground if there's any sun to hide yourself? I did not think of that. Now, all the claymen appear to be identical. I don't notice any variation. These ones don't have the harpoon, and I believe these are the actual bubble sorcerers. There are actually 3 types of claymen. I believe the models are all the same. Interesting. They seem to be in some kind of despair. Not having a great time. Yeah, so there are claymen who have the harpoons, and then there are claymen who have nothing and they use the bubble sorceries, and then there are also claymen who use little daggers. I'll see if I can pause and get a look at those guys as well. So for now, I have a lot of health. They're real damage sponges here. Five fingers. Yeah, they do have 5 fingers, so... Oops. They have massive boys. And when they die, they turn into this sludge. In fact, just a little bit, we'll see them emerging from the sludge. So it's... One argument could be that they are made from the sludge. You know, claymen, it would make sense if they're some kind of created being. Maybe in the way that they kind of parallel maybe the silver tears, veiled mimic tears maybe, yeah. They're apparently weak to strike and holy damage. Holy damage, that's interesting. Here we have the bottom half of one of these statues. We'll see another one. Interesting, golden centipede. That is very interesting. Kept as a fetish by Golden Order fundamentalists, especially the hunters of those who live in death. And I believe the... Is it Rogier says that The centipede is the symbol of the curse mark. And we don't find any of those who live in death down here. But interestingly enough, there are those who live in death in the fissure in the DLC, the Trina's hideaway place, which is odd. Got some runes, nothing surprising there. Oh, good hitbox. I would love to get one of these harpoons. Oops. Maybe D Brothers was wandering around this area? And there's the bubble. Let's get them to do another one of those, actually. I'm going to take a look at that. Also assumed that was the D-twin coming through here. Oh, as in, like, the centipede was left by D? That's possible. That's possible, because we do have... we do have Dee's twin brother a little ways away. I'm not going to die to Clayman. That would be embarrassing. There are loads near where he is near the gargoyles. Right. Oh, there's one of those. Damn it. Ah, there we go. Let's take a look at this. So, I also maybe want to see him cast it. So I wonder if this is... There's a lot of things this might be connected to. We seem to see almost like stars inside. Very cosmic looking ball. Yeah, similar to the microcosm, I would say, which is interesting, because they search for lost oracles within the bubbles. And the coloration is similar to the putrescence flame. Never noticed it's a JPG. Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's easier to just render something as a 2D object. I want to see him cast it. Also, it tracks, and I've always wondered if there's something... There we go. Let's take a look at that. So he's just sort of conjuring it out of... Yeah, that's nothing too interesting there. Did you look at their backs? They look a little like dulled glintstones from a distance. Well... I don't know. I think it's important that these are bubbles, essentially, because you don't go to the trouble of making this translucent unless that's something that you want to convey. like bubbles within the mud. Maybe that's the cause of their life. When it explodes, it looks like putrescent sorcery's fire. Yeah, because that's a much deeper blue than normal, like, ghost flame. Yeah, see, that's the color of putrescence. There's another one. Trying to explode. Your Godefroy video lives rent-free in my head, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you. Yeah, you know, I haven't really come back to any of those ideas too much. But I wonder with Saint Trina and the stuff about saints now, whether there is something to it. I don't have any cogent thoughts about that yet, but I may come back to that. If I remember correctly, the word for saint in both cases is different, so here we have the actual piles of sludge turning into the claymen. And one of the most important items in the game. We'll read that. So, soap. A plant-based soap made from mushroom juice. And I think you create it with the melted mushroom. Cleans off filth and other accumulations on the body. Filth covering the exterior eventually seeps inside, soiling one's very spirit. So that would also thematically connect these guys to putrescence, I think. There was a bit more duality stuff in the DLC, but I couldn't make any definitive links. I feel like Saint Trina is just meant to be similar to Mikola the Kind. They're just really nice. Yeah. I don't know. So here we have a Nox priestess. And I believe this is the same statue we find in Muriel's church with the cleansing ritual there. Can't really identify that sigil on the cloak. Could just be generic filigree. Oh, there we go. It is again. Maybe a 6-pointed star? Reminds me of Sunken Humanity in DS3 with the seeping references. Yeah, the deep. Yeah, I mean that's an old idea. The idea that like sin, that bad things basically are heavier. They the dregs sink to the bottom. Is the same sigil on the giants on the crypt chair? Ah, okay. That's good to know. So we have these trees which have petrified. Where does the Nox lie in the timeline? Their buildings look so modern compared and clean. Yeah. Yeah, that really is the question, I think. Where do they fit in? Beast liver. Herbivorous beasts. I mentioned that there is this... They specify herbivorous versus carnivorous in many places, which may mean something. Okay. Oh, stop pushing me. I don't want to fight you. I've fought enough of you in Dark Souls 3. What about the soap reducing poison buildup? So yeah, I wonder what's going on there. The idea is you create... So you create soap with melted mushroom. Oh, hello, John. Well, we've just started exploring the ancient dynasty in the Shifra area. So I don't think I can craft soap yet. But you create soap. I know that at least one of the ingredients, maybe the only ingredient, is the melted mushroom. So it drips with a viscous fluid that behaves much like oil. You're cleaning yourself with mushrooms, and that somehow has something to do with like purifying, cleansing. There have been older, more advanced societies in other frameworks, though, like the Coral Institute in AC6. Yeah, I mean, I would be hesitant to say that, you know, for sure one civilization is older because its architecture seems more basic. But I think at face value, that's what it's meant to indicate. Right, like you look at these types of ruins, you're meant to think that this is at least something, you know, older than the Noxian structures up above. I think that's intentional. The first antibiotics came from mushrooms, namely penicillin. That's probably why. Wasn't that algae and mold? It's a little bit different. Why poison specifically? Why not rot? No worries, Jose. See you later. Why poison and not rot? I don't know. The soap is a sanitizer. It's not super deep. Well, but I think that the concept of filth and sin and cleansing is very important. So, I mean, yeah, maybe the item itself isn't that deep, but thinking about that might lead us somewhere. I tried gathering some notes about, like, purity and impurity and so on. There's the soap description. Filth covering the exterior eventually seeps inside. So in the Crusade was about scorching those who were deemed impure, keeping the taint of impurity away from Fair Mother America. The furnace's flame burns away both body and soul. When impurity is thus expunged, one calls it cleansing. Albinarics are impure. Misbegotten omen are seen as impure. The crucible was considered divine in ancient times, but is now increasingly disdained as an impurity. And the Dominula spirit says, "My hide is filthy, don't skin me." As if to indicate that only people who are clean are skinned, which is odd. But then that connects maybe with the god skins. Presumably god skin would be pure. So there is something about purity, dirtiness, sin. Elden Ring shards also taint the demigods. ER also impure. Yeah, I don't know. And then there's Ymir's line about Miquella's bloodline being tainted and mired in madness. Impure means fake, artificial. I don't think I would say that. I don't think I would say that. I mean, for example, the horn scent. Right, they don't think much of the shamans. The shamans don't seem to grow horns. The horn scent grow horns, and so if there's a purity connotation there, it's that horns are pure or divine. But then later, horns become seen as a symbol of impurity. So it's unclear, but there is a theme of especially with all this putrescence stuff, there is a theme of impurity and that relating to some moral quality. The Hornsent also use metal, which the ancestral followers intentionally avoid. Right. So you can burn away soul, but only frenzy burns spirit? Possibly. I'll have to look at the Japanese. In fact, I'll just do that now before I forget. So oh yeah, and I started putting together a new timeline. This is not done yet. Let's see. So it was it frenzied, surging frenzied flame? Is that it? Spirits are eternal, and yet frenzied flame melts them away regardless. So let's see. As for the crazy fire, what's that? So that's day. And then the other one was the hefty furnace pot. Oops, what am I doing? So those are different words. Tamashi versus they. Yeah, so that is a different word. And that corresponds with the two different words that we usually find regarding souls and spirits. But that gets a little bit confusing when you look at like the spirit ashes, where you have, it refers to like spirit body, which is something different. So there's actually a number of words in the Japanese that correspond to soul and spirit. They're not always translated consistently. So unclear. There's putrescence outside Murkwater catacombs. Only instance of putrescence I've found in the lands between. Outside Murkwater catacombs. But it's not actually putrescence, is it? Isn't it just little bits of... Can I get this? Can actually go check that out before we go on. So it looks exactly the same. But isn't it just because we do have those like weird little slimy things, and that's not unique to that. Oh, what am I doing? Did not mean to do that. Like, we see these sort of bundles of... These little disgusting bundles of things everywhere. Keep going. Oh, like this? Is that what you're talking about? Hmm. Oops. So it is a sort of silvery slime. Hmm. Hmm. I wonder. Well, and, you know, even though these guys are different, it's a similar idea, right? Little disgusting bundles of flesh and bones and whatnot. And we do see these also connected with those who live in death. There's a particular place on the beach. What color is the sky here? I mean, throughout Limgrave, it's kind of, it ranges from gray to goldish. I'm just gonna grab this grace. Maybe the water is called Murkwater because the corpses have become putrescent. Yeah. Just gonna mark that so we can come back to it later. But I have a very strong feeling that didn't have putrescence mapped out that far in advance. Well, you know, I don't know if they thought of it as putrescence, but I suspect that whatever the concept is behind this sort of disgusting slime. Stop it. I don't mean to do that. This disgusting slime stuff and and like sin, or at least some kind of like moral quality to it. That was probably... So here we have those bundles, and we have some boats, and we have those who live in death. And those who live in death have harpoons. I think those look like harpoons to me, right? See, like with the rope. I don't know, that feels like a harpoon. I guess it doesn't have like a actual rope to connect to anything, but... So I wonder if there's a connection. Those who live in death, the Sun Realm, the ancient dynasty. Is there putrescence clinging to their bones? You could make that argument. Whether it's just like rotten flesh. Harpoons usually have hook-like points so that it doesn't get easily removed. Yeah, I suppose this is more of just a sphere. Wasn't the putrescent knight called the Glomide Queen's Knight or something in the game files? Yeah, which is also like... I have no idea. No idea what that means. Oh my god. Putrescence, the sea, those who live in death, Godwin has a fishtail, ancient dynasty, Moog revives it and calls it the Mogwin dynasty. I think those boat cocoons under Stormvale serve the same purpose as the coffins you find in the Ansel Schiefer River that also lead to Godwin. It's for this reason why you find his basilisks in those. So here, see, and there we have these ships, which do seem pretty close to the giant stone coffins. And then we have these trees. I'm not sure what they're doing there. Seem to be carrying some kind of vessel, watering the trees maybe. And then this one with, can't really tell what's going on there. There's not much evidence Moog's name is actually Moog. Gideon just calls him Lord of Blood. I think there really was a Mogwin dynasty, and Moog took their name. That's an interesting idea. That's a really interesting idea. Um... His Great Rune says Moog and Morgoth are twin brothers. Am I remembering this correctly that early on the Moog sort of apparition, which you find in the sewers, that his name was spelled M-O-G-H rather than M-O-H-G? I feel like I remember that being the case, but I'm not sure. Okay, it's a mausoleum? That just seems like an honest typo. Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps. I mean, I think if it was the case, then they changed it. Two great rivers flow beneath the lands between, the Shifra and the Insel. This vast region is said to be the grave of civilizations that flourished before the Erd Tree. Civilizations plural, possibly indicating that both the ancient dynasty and the Noxian cities flourished before the Erd Tree. Mogwin name could just be a troll like Godefroy. I don't think Godefroy is a troll, so... Now we have these guys. Thanks for stopping by, JJ Dundas. So, very unique look. They seem to have blue eyes. Almost skull-like face with the nose receded like that. Somehow closer to death. Spirit color eyes. It looks more blue than green, but possibly. These losers' faces look like the crickets from the Ring City. Yeah, that is similar. Well, maybe just emaciated and... Is that the Mogwin symbol? 3 red lines like Nereus? They're very brawny. We'll have to look at the physical ones up in Liurnia at some point. So they wear horns. We've got a jawbone axe with teeth, which is maybe interesting in as much as there's the tooth whip, which tells us about the shamans. And the female version of these ones are called shamans, although I believe the word is different in The teeth in their axe reminds me of the Godwin surrogate corpse face. Well, I'm not sure what you're seeing there. I think definitely the idea that they eschew metalworking and letters, so they're more, what would you call it? They're more primitive, but it's like an ideology about primitivism. It's better to be strong, to be more sort of at one with nature, with the beasts. Metal and letters, golden runes. That seems like a likely interpretation there. There are druidic-like people. Yeah, so I mean, parallels I would say with horn scent in some respects, although they do not actually grow horns, right? They're wearing horns. Maybe the shaman were the followers that the ancestral followers are following? Animal worship. Yes, right. And there's the regal ancestor spirit, so they consider the ancestor spirit like what? Either a god or a king, a lord of some kind. Okay. Divine beast. In fact, they drop beast bones, which is interesting. And now let's look at that. So these are wings. Looks not dissimilar to Deathbird wings. Obviously, it's a horn, but the weapon is called like what? Winged axe or something. And then there's, I guess, just the general question of why are they spirits? Very basic stone circle earring. Very primitive. The axe's item description makes explicit reference to the winged envoys of death. Yeah, which is especially interesting with the winged scythe. Although that appears to be made of metal. I'm definitely not going to kill everything in this place because I kind of hate going through Shifra, so I'll probably be going relatively quickly through it. Why are they force ghosts? Good question. The inverted hawk heater shield. The inverted hawk is the emblem of the company of slaves ordered to explore the Eternal City. Now there's a question, who ordered them? Hawks would connect them with the Stormvale culture prior to Godfrey, or perhaps connect them to Godwyn, given that the Death Knights have a storm crest. So it's possible Godwyn adopted the storm the mantle of the storm stuff, the storm hawk and all that stuff. But why would Godwyn order them to explore the Eternal City. Maybe this was connected to Godwin being buried at the roots. Maybe after he died, you know, Marika or Godfrey ordered these slaves to explore the Eternal City to find a path to the roots. That's possible. But I think there's something. We'll find some more stuff regarding the Fallen Hawks, and I think it says that they're searching for an item, which could be the Fingerslayer blade, which makes it even weirder. Welcome, Rafa. Welcome back. And the inverted hawk is interesting because this might parallel, you know, it's a black bird against a red background. That might parallel the twin bird and the death birds. So if maybe the death birds are, what, a shadow of the Stormhawks? Albania is canon in Elden Ring? Yeah, right. Godwin's corpse is called a relic. True? Is that what Rajir says? A sacred relic. Well, the cadaver surrogate is called a relic, right? It's a sacred relic of that night. Yeah, I'll have to look at what that... I believe we'll get more information once we, you know, fight Radon and go underneath. But... okay, we'll leave you guys alone. The Archer ashes and Great Shield Soldier ashes directly relate to the Hawk Shield. Right. Three minimum? I don't know what that's in reference to. Anyone notice that Godric has Niall's prosthetic leg? Which he offered up to save soldiers who were captured? Could explain the presence of Banished Knights in Stormvale instead of Godric Knights. Really? Is that... I'll have to look at that because... right, there's the Banished Knights, and then there's the Veteran set, and they are very similar but slightly different. So you would be able to tell which one it is, actually. Godric grafted Niall's prosthetic leg onto himself. It's the leg he uses to do storm attacks. That would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense. The complete lack of any meaningful Deathblight or Godwin lore in Shadow of the Erdtree is infuriating. I would say more infuriating is the Deathblight lore that we do get, which is that it's connected to the Divine Beast. At least, currently, it's connected to the Divine Beast, whether that was always an aspect of the storm or not. I remember reading that Niall saved his companions, but I don't remember it related to Godric. Interesting. Oops. We're just gonna go fight the Regal Ancestor Spirit, so... missed that part, I guess? Yeah, oh yeah, maybe you didn't find it. there's a secret bit of the Rao ruins where you can fight a second divine beast. And it uses Deathblight. Nile is guarding a castle that's one of the last bastions of Eclipse/Sunrealm cultures remaining before America's rule. It's not random, there's so much Godwin exposition there. Oops. Crap. There is nothing that explicitly connects Castle Sol to the Sun Realm, besides the fact that it's about a sun. It's not explicitly related to Godric. Come on. Dwelling Arrow. Arrow in which the spirits of small animals are thought to dwell. Well, so, I mean, yeah, this is something we could actually check, because the veteran armor is slightly different from the Banished Knight armor. So if he's got a Banished Knight leg, you know, that could mean something, but if he does actually have the veteran leg, that would be different. Castle Sun, not related to Sun Realm, has to be one of the wildest things you've said. Well, I don't know, there could be multiple suns. There's nothing that explicitly connects Castle Sol to the Sun Realm. I don't think the sun is real.
Oh, a customer.
So, nascent butterfly. Core of a creature of mimicry known as a silver tear. As much a substance as it is a living organism. If the silver tears were related to putrescence, why would they have a connection? And let's say if... Yeah, why would they have a connection to the amber egg? Funny seeing nascent butterflies, soap, and larval tears nearly next to each other here. I wonder what the Mikla Shifra connection is. Yeah, and also, I mean, there's Ordina, right, which leads to the Halig tree. Sent you a close-up of Godric/Niall's leg on Discord. Oh, let's check that out. Let's check that out. It's a little hard to tell here, but we could open up, let's see, so we have the, A lot of different armor sets here. So here's the regular Banished Knights. And then we have... There's the veterans. There we go. So, actually... Oh, go back. Let's do it like this. Go back. So, slight differences in the knee guard. The very bottom seems to be identical. Yeah, I can't see any difference below the knee guard. So if we had some way to look at the... I would have to look at Godric a bit more closely. Um, a lot of comments. Hold on. Why can't I scroll up? Notice me, Crunchy. For some reason I can't scroll up in the comments, so I didn't see anything before Colt said the Great Rune shares position with Mickey and Melania. Great Rune of Unborn, Trina, and Putrescence. Godric has probably grafted more legs onto himself. The spurs on the Banished Knight legs are so cute. Yeah, they look a little butterfly coated. The larval tier is kind of like mercury vibes or something. Maybe that's required for alchemical transformation. Yes. Which, if the putrescence is connected to the silver tiers, and the putrescence is also connected to the shamans, that would kind of make sense. Like, if there's something silvery about shamans that is necessary for this jar process, like, are the shamans night folk, maybe? There is a moon shining over Shaman Village at all times of day. There's also the fact that Godric has command of Banished and Exile Knights, which could make sense if Niall gave Godric his prosthetic in exchange for their lives or something. Yeah, and I mean, Nefeli does say, like, oh, you have a poor choice of master, that was your only problem. As if to say, right, they served someone else beforehand. Shotel. Made to hunt down humans. And this is similar to the Night Folk weapons. Or the Nox weapons, rather.
Goodbye till next.
Yeah, so soap is just made with melted mushroom. The Banished Knights served Godwyn. No Banished Knights in the Lands of Shadow, right? Just their discarded armor and weapons in Gaius' arena. I believe that's the case. I don't remember seeing anything about them, so... I didn't even notice the Gaius thing until someone pointed it out, so... I don't recall seeing them anywhere else. This particular nomadic merchant has a very sweet affect. You know, it's very odd. Like, I would just say, not the smartest of businessmen to be trying to sell your wares in places like this. Also, what are these things? Are there any more of them around? These little blue guys. We'll look at them again. So I also wonder about the false night sky. Oh, there's one. Let's take a look at you. A ball lightning. Yeah. Are those arch tree trunks? I mean, that there is something significant about the fact that you have all these tree trunks that are petrified and have no branches. I think that is... And they're called bowers in the consecrated snowfield. There's something important about that. Because we also have just normal trees. But these ones are special. Path of Stone. This area was once a part of consecrated snowfields, which was once a great forest. Yeah, I mean, consecrated snowfield is such an odd place. It's such an odd place. Something about being cold. Reminds me of the golden trunks in the Elden Beast arena. Yes. Well, and certainly the lake up top. It looks very similar to that. Come on. Come on. Also in the snowfield. I mean, the snowfield is... It's like another area of Shiefra and Insol. There are dragonkin spirits in snowfields as well? Right. No, I mean, it's got all their ancestral followers up there. Like, it's got all of the features of the Insol and Shiefra. Well, it's odd because the Insol does not actually have ancestral spirits underground, does it? It's got one wandering the Lake of Rot. That's it, as far as I remember. But it does have them above ground in the Uhl ruins. And then you have them above ground in consecrated snowfield. And then here they're below ground, but they're spirits. It's too distant to the snowfield, though. What is too distant? God damn those guys. You also have Kaled in the mountaintops with parallels. I don't think it's random. Their counterparts both sit on top of one another. True. Oh my god. Oh, that stupid message. Oh. Why have they never patched that out? That stupid message thing where you have to press A to get rid of it. Ugh. Stone sword key was lost with use. So did Snowfield rise up, or did the other two get buried down? We know the cities were banished. Maybe the whole underground was above ground at first, including the rivers. Somewhere a heavy door opened. Yeah, exactly. Are there frenzied in Shifra Insel? It's been too long since I last played. I don't recall any frenzied. I don't recall any frenzied, but there is an odd parallel there because the Eternal Darkness spell refers to the despair of the Nox, right? And you have Astel underground, and you have another Astel in the Consecrated Snowfield. There's a Madness Miranda flower in Insel. Oh, that's right, there is. There is, next to one of those baby Astels. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good catch. Oh, God, camera. So, horn bow. Made from animal horn. Nothing too interesting there. Accoutrement worn by the ancestral followers. This raises focus, which governs resistance to sleep and madness. So the ancestral followers were somehow more resistant to sleep and madness. Elden Beast sprays out nebula gunk from its head to create sunrise, sunset sky. And the arena has trees galore. Nox create their own night sky, and the area has petrified trees galore. Yeah. Yeah. So we have this beast. Has cloven hoofs. So it's not a horse. Unlike Torrent. Oh, also I meant to check out, someone mentioned about Torrent, looking at his face. Torrent is a horse. There's something about being burnt. Did he look like he was burnt at all? I don't see any indication of that. There's a little something on his face there. And I'm wondering if the bull figure on the stone coffins is actually just a torrent head. Is the thing we do to enter the boss fight with the ancestor spirits the same type of teleportation as what happens with the withered arm in the cocoon? That's an interesting connection. That's an interesting connection. Yeah, because it's like a desiccated corpse that then takes us to, what, some other place. I mean, the other place does actually appear on the map, but... So if we look out here... actually, I'm gonna briefly change the camera speed so I can move around a bit more quickly. That might be too fast, but let's see. So if I go out, yeah, that's... So here, if we go down far enough, we see that this is actually all an enormous lake. You know, I think it's in Sumerian mythology where the world is... There's like a distinction between saltwater and freshwater. Like the deepest layer of the world is saltwater. It's the ocean. And then there's like a freshwater layer on top of that, and then there's the earth on top of that. But if we, when we actually go here, touch horned remains, touch the withered arm, it's an interesting idea. So like, where are we? We're in some cave, and technically we're out here. Like we just went out here, I guess. And before this is physically actually where we fight the Elden Beast and he transports us here. Miyazaki tells us this 10 years from now. It has no discernible significance. Look at the fungus in the boss arena. It's not found anywhere else, and I'm pretty sure it's the same type of mushroom that pops up around the talking spirit ghost guys. Interesting. Let's take a good look. So... Actually, let's get in there. So I think this is a little bit different because the spirit guys are you know, they've got like a cap. It is odd, these weird little mushrooms though. No worries, Colt. See you later. Silver? Maybe? Is that like a normal shaped deer skull? It's a weird skull. It's a weird face, right? It's like extra long. Is that the big bovine creature that's hung up in the specimen storehouse? I would have to compare them side by side. Might be of the same type. Almost looks like a beak. Yeah. Yeah, it does look kind of bird-like. It's got ears. Just want to see a living one. Right. And the deathbirds have, like, their pelvic bone kind of looks more horse-like. And they have, like, a weird horse tail. So I wonder... I think deer really do only have lower canines like that. Hmm. There's still flesh and fur on it. Well, there's a lot of, like... I don't know, is that even fur or is that, like... algae or something? It's also, like... It's also desiccated. It's hard to figure out what's going there. And the extra long neck also feels slightly bird-like. It looks like a rotten grue from DS3 in that posture. Yeah, there is a bit of resemblance to the grues. A decaying deer corpse would probably look kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, it may just be like stylized deer corpse. But it also might have just, you know, there is a similarity between the ancestor buds and spirits to the crucible and the regal ancestor spirit does that move where it kind of like it kills the little spirit animals and then it uses an attack based off of them. Why do we need to light beacons to fight it? Is that spirit ash in those little basins we light? That's a cool idea. Right, because what's the message? Something in horned remains. The glowing, living shroomy stuff reminds me of the guys in the Deathbird wings. Yeah. Something awakens in horned remains. Power gathers in horned remains. So why would fire do that? Why would fire make the power awaken? Breathes out. That's pretty similar to putrescence, honestly. God. Fighting this with a... Fighting this with a thrusting sword is probably a terrible idea. Damn it. Fire purges the spirits from the decayed matter like fuel. Let's look at his magic close up. It's got these little, like, circles like it's water. You always need 8 beacons, which reminds me of the 8-pointed star. Ah. 8. 8's an important number. Bioluminescence in its horns and water attacks reminds me of the aquatic connection to death and the aquatic connections of the ECs. Does putrescent fire actually do fire damage or magic? Same question for Regal Breath. I believe this does magic damage. Putrescence, I would have to check, but I would guess that it's similar to Ghost Flame, which does magic and frost damage. Does not do fire damage. So... yeah, this is definitely water-coated with these, like, ripple effects. It's magic? Maybe it would be worth looking at it through the lens of fire's use in real-life remembrance rituals. Putrescent does magic damage and frostbite, no fire. Oops. Too late. Oops. A little bit too late. The mist before it lands looks like nebula, but then it splashes... yeah, there's like those little particle effects. So there's little particle effects that make it look like stars almost. Kind of similar to the bubbles. Real life is in religions that use fire in ritual, just to be clear. Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. I'm not sure what I would think. Like lighting a candle for the dead. Any insights about the music? It's nice. It's probably one of Kitamura's best tracks. So I can just pause for a second and listen to it. We got a rain stick. Turn up the music actually a little bit. Can't tell if that's a didgeridoo or some other instrument similar. Got a couple of like traditional flutes. I don't think they're shakuhachis, but they're some kind of traditional flute. It's not dissimilar to like Lindell and Altus music. Maybe I'm thinking of the Altus track. It's that similar kind of like improvisatory folk music kind of thing. Although there's a bit more emphasis on like traditional instruments, rain stick, traditional flute. Yeah, I don't know what else I would add to it. The ancestor spirit and its followers seem to suggest a totally different paradigm about life and death that is distinct from the Erd tree. The former being that you just need to let things die. Well, the talisman that you get from the regal ancestor spirit has this line about life comes from death as it does from birth, such is the way of the living. Which is interesting, yeah, so that kind of... Oh, is that the remembrance? Kind of an aside, but I think this fight and the magic used in it sits firmly in arcane rather than int/faith. The music conveys a sense of sadness to me, like what we were doing is a terrible shame. Yeah. I think it means life comes from the collective dead spirits and sprouts again. Killing of a sacred deer. Yeah. Same splashy effect on the double jump under the feet that the breath makes when it lands. Can't summon Torrent here. A spirit of the horned folk who eschew letters and metalworking. Brawny and versed in distinctive spiritual arts. This particular tribesman wields a heavy bow. I've beaten this boss little times, actually. Where does the cave lead? It doesn't lead anywhere. This is it. It's just a big room. There's a path behind, isn't it? That's where I came from. And that's just another little room. So it doesn't really actually take you anywhere. It's just some area here. Hallowhorn Grounds. And so it's interesting that they seem to be associated with this ancient dynasty. It seems unlikely that they just settled in these ruins. They must have been affiliated with the culture when it was around, because you see them again in the ancient dynasty ruins in Liurnia. So, what was their relationship? Let's assume that we had these stone coffins with putrescent life, putrescent flesh. It arrives in the lands between. And what happens? So now we know that Torrent must descend from the beasts in the land of shadow. So why does the ancestor spirit share the double jump with him? Do we know that Torrent descends from the beasts in the land of shadow? Why would we know that? There's a giant torrent in Shadowkeep. Yeah. I don't think we know anything, lol. Nothing in game even explicitly says that Marika was Godwin's mother. That's what I've said. That's what I've said. Moog also resides around the ancient Dynasty ruins, and before the DLC I thought we will meet Dynasty people or something. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Let's take the elevator up. If I see a giant torrent and torrent is a spirit horned beast, I'll have to make a leap. Well, I would just say we don't know. We don't know what torrent is exactly. Right, he has horns and he doesn't seem like he should because he's otherwise a horse. But that could be something that is not unique to the Land of Shadow even. It could be something the stone coffins brought with them. Isn't it only 6 beacons for the Regal one? I don't recall. Why does Gideon call Moog's dynasty his revival? It's always referred to as new, meaning someone else ruled it before him. Could it have been someone we know? Like Godwin? I don't know, it's odd, and the weirdest part of it to me is how it connects to Rao. Because Rao is also like this super ancient ruins of this incredibly old civilization. Also, these guys, very odd that they appear in the fissure. Very odd that they appear in the fissure. Rao seems like the original worship of light versus dark. We see similar darkness inside the Divine Towers and during Rolana's phase transition after Irani summons it. Yes. And I think there's something significant about this stuff with the sprites. Like that gets at some really basic aspect of magic in this world. Well, let's see. So we've basically covered Limgrave. A few little things to do left. Let's see, what time is it? So there's Murkwater Catacombs, Stranded Graveyard. Why don't we take a look at a death bird, since we were talking about them? Godwin's merman form has some similarities to Eldon John, particularly the beard/tendrils that grow under his face. He's also just skinny. The only thing is the legs, but strangely, a lot of statues are purposely cut in half from the waist. Watched a vid speculating blood fiends in Shadow of the Erdtree and Formless Mother stuff. Mogwin could be referencing this. Yeah. Could the blood fiends be like transformed versions of the ancestral followers? There's a sort of similarity in the brawniness and the way they use their weapons. I wonder. Right, they found the Formless Mother in the spirit of their ancestor. That's actually, that's an interesting concept. The levels are starting to get pretty expensive. Let's see. Do we have enough for another one? Blood fiends have the same exposed backbones as the huge stone golems. Do you mean the trolls or the stone golems? Because the stone golems have like weird spines where it looks like they were meant to carry something on their back. I'll have to look at the blood fiends. I do kind of like. I'm feeling like I want to get to the Shadowlands as early as possible. But fighting Moog is going to be such a pain if I'm low level. So let me just see. Level up. I need 10,000. Don't think I have enough. No, not yet. Okay, but let's look at this Deathbird. Now that I think about it, even the worm faces evoke Eldon John. Tall, skinny, robed, with the worms evoking a beard. All this stuff could circle back to the themes of water so prevalent in death. You could always summon someone if you want. True. True, actually. I was thinking because I was going to be using like the free cam and stuff, I wouldn't be online, but I don't need to use that. Maybe I will try to do that. Maybe I'll try to do Vare's thing and get there early so I can just take a look around. Kind of do the DLC and the base game side by side. My Moonlight ass is ready to carry. Yeah, maybe I'll see if anybody in chat wants to hop in for the Moog fight. So I don't want to like spend an hour on stream just trying to figure out how to beat him low level. Estelle is malformed. Is it supposed to be a Deathbird? Why would you think that? The Deathbird's exposed skull thing is very similar to Estelle. So many odd similarities that make you question whether it's intentional. Um. Hmm. I wonder if it's more that they are both exemplifying certain traits rather that they themselves are inherently connected. Starts in the fetal position. Oh, I forgot this one has all these annoying little goats. Any more around here? So let's take a look at you first. So there's Deathblight. So this is like, kind of like the modeling in Stormvale. It's a crow skull. Very long neck. But if you see the back here, he's got like a horse tail. It's not feathers. 5 toes. Five fingers. It looks like wings that were once white, but have been kind of stained and dirtied. Actually, in 1.0, their wings were sort of like glowing gold. This is like no backbone. It's like it's been removed. Godwin vibes? Yeah. Yeah, it is literally like someone took the spine out. There are people. Elden Ring is a horror game? Yeah. Cozy. Yeah, they're very snug. Snug as a bug in a rug. Don't seem too happy though, you know. Not looking like they're having a great time. The teeth really complete the imagery, yeah. So that does Deathblight, which is odd because that seems to be associated with something post Night of the Black Knives. Need to go to sleep. Good luck lore hunting. Thanks for stopping by, my gel. The Deathbirds predate the Erd Tree too, which is really odd if they can inflict Deathblight. Yeah, exactly. So, blue feathered branch sword. The heart sings when one draws close to death, and thus does one cling so tenaciously to life, to render up a death worth offering. So you have some kind of ritual which, by bringing people close to death, they cling onto their life more. Right? If they're too comfortable, like what, they're not as good of a sacrifice. So it's the fighting spirit. When you get close to death, you really want to fight to stay alive. And so that, something about that fighting spirit, that will to live, that's the thing that they're trying to get out of this sacrifice. And somehow that's related to restoring FP, which is mind. Dying in battle has some special effect on the soul. See also Helfin. Maybe Radahn was trying to exploit this effect. Yes. Why would they call a deathbird a deity? Well, deity can mean multiple things. I mean, just like with gods and outer gods and all this stuff in this game, you know, if you escape the sort of Western framework which is so informed by like Abrahamic religions, when you call something a god or a deity, it just means something that's of a higher power level, really, or higher plane of existence. There can be multiple levels to that. Maybe the spirit's essence is a snapshot of the person's dying state? Yeah. In the Land of Shadow, many relatively minor things get called deities. Tutelary deities, golems as forged deities, yeah. Yeah, a god or a deity can just be something that is beyond, like, normal human levels. And you can have multiple different, you know, tiers of that. So that, see, this death rite is very interesting because, as I pointed out in one of my videos, the gardener statue is very, very similar to the death rite priest that you find in the death rite birds, not the death birds. It's a branched tree. There's all these similarities between the Helfin and the Erd tree. You know, the Helfin lamplight is similar to Grace in appearance. It's the spirit world. So you have this direct sort of connection between the death rites and the Erd tree religion. And then there's a parallel between the deathbird sacrifices and the serpent religion on Gelmir. And I still don't really know how to fit the serpent into anything. There's a parallel in both the weapons, because the Serpent God's Curved Sword is like a parallel to this, except it restores HP. And then also with the Wraiths, because we have the hexes, which have to do with Ghost Flame, and then there's also Rykard's Rancor, which summons Rancor's spirits with these skulls in the same way. So something about these really early ancient death rituals pre-Erd Tree, but I'm still not sure how to connect them together. Well, Melina and Mesmer? Yeah, exactly. Mesmer embodying the snake aspect, Melina embodying... Oh, she's got the sort of crow talon seal on her eye. The snakeskin in Bonnie Village. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to end it here for now. That seems like a nice... There's still a couple little things to do in Limgrave. I don't know if I need to do them on stream. The main one probably being Divine Tower. We should look at that. And maybe Stranded Graveyard. But largely, I think we can continue through Liurnia. So might jump back and forth a little bit, but... what do I actually need to do to get into the DLC? We're Don and Moog. So we can go find Vare. Do some little invasions. Get to the Mogwin Dynasty. Go fight Radon. Okay. Yes. Okay. That'll be a good plan. So maybe we'll even get to the Shadowlands in, like, I don't know. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 streams at least. But, Moog Appreciation Arc starts here. I don't know about that. But I think that's a good... That's funny. That looks pretty similar to the storm clouds in the story trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree. Yep, I think that's it for now. We'll come back and do some Liurnia next time. Alright, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate all the comments. And as always, Discord link in the description. It might be a little outdated now. Leave me a comment if it is. But you know, send me messages if you want me to look at something or anything like that. So, thanks for stopping by. I will see you all next time.